Well, we've mentioned this on the show a few times already. Arkansas is right on the path of totality for the solar eclipse on April the 8th. It's recognized as a special event for centuries across many cultures, and here to share more, celebrity historian Rafi Andonian. I know you're thinking at home, how's he wearing those glasses and reading the prompter at the same time? It's magic, isn't it?
It is.
That's what my eyes look like. I know. I'm so bright, you got to wear shades. Thanks for being here, Rafi. Great
Of course.
to see you. So, how have people in the past reacted to an eclipse?
Starts with ancient China that we have some of the earliest records. We have some in ancient Ireland, we think also, but that's debatable. But certainly in China, you have accounts of that. And what's really fascinating is scientists today have been able to calculate the rotation of the Earth and all kinds of things because of those records to figure out that the Earth changes its speed at a rate of 1/47,000th a second per day, believe it or not, based on those records from records of eclipses with ancient China, believe it or not. But you have other records too. So for example, the Mayans actually predicted, there's evidence that they predicted one of the eclipses in 1991. So they were really big in astronomy. And how about the reference to eclipse in the Quran with the birth of Muhammad? So there's a lot of connections to that. But one of my favorites in the modern period is with Albert Einstein.
Okay.
Einstein's theory of relativity was proven in part with a subsequent observation by a different scientist of an eclipse where there was a distortion of space and time that helped prove what he was trying to demonstrate with his theory about the relationship between gravity, space, and time and the distortion capability.
You know, that's fascinating. And I know that here in Arkansas, people are going to be driving here to the area just to see, because part of our state is in that path of totality, right?
That's right.
When did eclipse chasing, when did that become a thing?
When you're better able to not just predict when they're going to happen, but to predict where they're going to happen. So as you said, right, we're in Arkansas, we have the pathway coming right through, and so that allows you to begin to chase the eclipse.
Yeah.
Now that starts in ancient China too, but later, we're talking across thousands of years.
Sure.
And as they're able to calculate better about where, that gets better and better. But more recently, in recent centuries, you get higher level of ability to do so. In the 18th century, much better to do that. And that's when eclipse chasing begins. And there's funny stories for that. For example, during the Revolutionary War, there's a Harvard professor who takes a group of people eclipse chasing behind enemy lines. But it actually turns out he calculated wrong. And so they missed the eclipse anyway.
So they missed the eclipse and
they were behind enemy lines.
Wow.
So there's sometimes a miscalculation that can happen. But what I also think is fascinating is the rise of photography. And when photography happens, there's technology now to be able to capture. In the mid-19th century, you do start to get eclipses captured in photographs. And what happens is U.S. Congress starts to allocate money to eclipse chase, including into the Rocky Mountains, so we could document this stuff, the documentations. That's because you know when and where it is. And so when you do so, of course, you got to make sure that you put these things on.
You got to be safe.
Exactly, so you could be safe. Now, you might think that this is the way to do it. You might think you're just going to wear your cool sunglasses.
Look how cool you are.
Now, I look better in this, I know, than I do in this. But this actually does not work the way that this does, because of the fact that these protect from the UV rays in a way that these don't.
Right.
And so you have to use these. Although there is some old science, if you're good enough at this, I don't suggest you do it, but there is some old science that NASA still says works, which is from an Arab scientist who was able to create a hole in a shutter to get the right circle to be able to view it safely before these glasses existed, believe it or not, and it's still valid science. It's just, I don't recommend you do that because we don't know what we're doing.
Right, we've advanced a little bit in technology since then. We have these.
This is much simpler and easier.
Much simpler, these paper sunglasses.
But the science has been there for a while, which is really fascinating to think about.
I love that, yeah. Of course, well, thank you for giving us all this history on this great eclipse that's coming. And stay with us. We do have more Good Day in WA coming up right after this.